Welcome to the Pinning Combination Podcast. I'm KJ Pilcher, and as always, alongside Dick Briggs, the Hall of Famer from Cedar Rapids, Jefferson, ready to talk a little wrestling. Uh, we'll we're gonna split up things. You might see things posted a little differently this week. We wanted to get college in a kind of a timely fashion, and so we weren't so removed from the weekend. So we're recording this on Tuesday. We'll also have a prep podcast that will be posted Wednesday. We'll record that Wednesday so we can get state duels coverage and wrap everything up Wednesday for the big weekend ahead for high school wrestling. But college is our main focus for today, and it was a big weekend. Uh, Kind of a big weekend for Iowa going through Illinois. UNI Iowa State heading down for their tour of Oklahoma with the Cowboys and the Sooners, and that were you busy this weekend as well?
Oh yeah, I got on Friday we had the Hall of Fame night, so I got home and got to watch the last 8 matches of the Battle of the Burgs, and then Saturday I was up in Dubuque at the MVC, and so yeah, busy. I was down in West Branch last night roughing. Tonight I'm in at Marengo, and so yeah, busy. So we had a lot of things going on. D3 had as I said, the Battle of the Burgs, and then Cornell was at Pete Wilson did a nice job there, and then Upper Iowa, yep, and Upper Iowa did, had a couple of nice wins too. So we'll touch on that a little bit later.
All right. Well, let's jump into the University of Iowa and their swing through Illinois. It kind of went as expected, I think. For the most part, you knew that they were kind of going to go in and win 7 to 8 matches. They won 8 at Illinois. Then they followed that up with shutting out Northwestern, which has just been absolutely depleted by the transfer portal. Which is kind of tough to see. But first off, Friday with Illinois, Iowa comes away, I believe it was 36-6 team victory. And the thing that stands out, big win from Patrick Kennedy over Edmund Ruth. Late takedown in the third, and then a ride out to win 5-1. We've seen Patrick Kennedy. Remember how when he first took the mat, he was just coming off injury, hadn't had a lot of mat time, nearly gassed again, and surrendered a big lead, held on to win at Iowa State. But we've just seen him kind of progressively get better, haven't we?
Right, and didn't he start the season at 65? And if I remember right.
Well, I think he was contending for 65, but they had him moved up. One, just because he hadn't had a lot of mat time, and kind of the thought that Kelly Endo was at 65, and seeing him out, see how he could handle 174 maybe.
And he's done a really good job. So I mean, Ruth was ranked third in most polls, I think, and then Kennedy has risen to the top 10, and now beating a top 3 ranked wrestler. He's having a great season. He's really doing well, and I'm going to throw also into that Glacier. We'll talk to him in a minute, but those two, man, they're sparkling.
And the thing about Patrick Kennedy that I just really like is there's a grinder vibe from him, where he's a guy that not like Max Mirren, who used to lead with his face, right? He used to joke about how he would lead with his face because he was beat up and yeah. But there's a physical element to the way Patrick Kennedy wrestles, and I think prefers to wrestle even, that if you marriage the technique with that physicality, and he's able to match strength with some of these 74 pounders, I think that's what's gonna help him have his best finish. in college so far.
Right. And that's kind of a prototypical Iowa style wrestling guy right there. And you're exactly right. You put that physicality in with that technique and good things happen. So
Where are guys?
exactly. And you'll see, I think, him win a lot of matches with those higher echelon guys late in the match with that physicality that he hits in early to kind of wear him down and be able to get points, on the board like in this match towards the end of the match.
As far as the other performers, you know, uh, just up and down the lineup, I really like the effort from most of the guys. Obviously, Drake Ayala um, took care of business. You know, you mentioned Glazier, and I know a lot of people have really, started to look at. He's undefeated. He's racking up bonus point victories, and I almost still think that he gets overlooked. And maybe it's because he's not very animated. He's just a real business-like guy out there. But I think he's been very offensive. Um, I think a lot of the points that he scored is stuff off what he's initiated. So, he's been offensive, he's been aggressive, and I still get this feeling that people just overlook him or underestimate him or underrate him.
Right.
He's been awesome.
Right. Other than Aaron Brooks at 97, to me, it seems like the potential's there. I mean, Brooks is heads and above everyone, in my opinion. He might be the best at all weights. And, but,
Right.
and so, so Glazier can, he can put himself anywhere, kind of like Jacob Warner, did, was able to do, make the finals of the nationals. So, hopefully that can happen because the kids, you're right. It's kind of been quiet and maybe because he hasn't had any top level wins yet. I mean, I'm not sure he's wrestled anyone that I can think of. Other than Allred, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
So
Joel's. I thought Joel's was a decent from Minnesota. I thought he was a decent competitor. Maybe I'm kind of putting too much on him, but
right. Yeah. But I think Glazier is carrying a little bit extra chip on his shoulder, with kind of with what happened in December, and he's still out to prove that he's the man. And even though that might already be done and resolved, and might be a moot point, but it doesn't matter. He's still in his mind is I think that's a good thing, really, if that's the case, So we'll see.
No, I agree with you for sure. Whenever any way you can stoke that fire uh is good.
Right.
Just kind of thought there was something with I'm not sure how many wins over ranked guys he does have, but I thought there was like 4 or 5 ranked wins that he has, even though most of them have kind of been on the back half of the rankings. But still, he's putting together a good season. You talk about just some of the competition. And at 33, that's one of the weight classes that seems like it's still up in the air. You had both the two 33-pounders in the lineup against Illinois. Colin Shriever wrestled 33 and beat number 30, Tony Madrigal, 9-1 with a major. And then Brody Teskey moved up to 141 to step in for Real Woods. And he got a 5-0 win over Will Basinger. So you had both 33-pounders in there. Shriever with another bonus point victory. Man, I don't know how you feel about it, but right now, I've maybe been a little more impressed with the way Shriever is wrestled, but it's hard to overlook the experience that Teskey has and whether or not that'll make a difference in the last month and a half of the season.
Well, I think that's exactly what the coaches are confronted with. Shriver's showing well, and Teskey has, stubbed his toe at a time, at least once, and,
Mhm.
so that might be something that has to happen in the room. We don't get to see how they compete in the room and how they're training and that sort of thing, and all the other things, peripheral things that can affect, dieting and classroom academics and just those types of things. But so they may end up doing a rustle off, an in-house rustle off that we don't even know about or something to figure it out. That's pretty rare if they would do that, but this late in the
Right.
season. But right now, both of them are set up to have a pretty good. I mean, they still got a couple of weeks to use that competitive thing between them. To maybe you have one guy excel or whatever. But we'll see. Come maybe the last few meets that they have left. Penn State one might decide it. How they can compete
Right.
against whoever they put on the mat there. That might really let us know. But one thing that is kind of neat, it's the first meet this year, and I don't even remember last year if they did it, that they evidently drew the weight out with the Illinois meet, and go
Yep.
figure, they drew out 33, which means that it's pretty much the same, other
Yeah,
than
it's pretty close.
so. It made me giggle when I saw that, because I don't think Coach Brands is real big on that, but he thought, well, let's just do it once, and then that's how it ends up. So.
Yeah. Yeah. First time that they haven't started at 25. Um, just kind of looking at, we talked about Ayala with a tech fall. Franick had a tech fall at 157, finally kind of opened things up a little bit. Michael Caliendo did as well at 65. Um, Bradley Hill with a pin. And, I know, so there's always a saying that the backup quarterback is the most popular guy on the football team, right? With fans. And I know there's a lot of people that are clamoring for Ben Keeter. Um, I want to see him wrestle more as well, but gosh, Bradley Hill has done a decent job. I know decent probably isn't the standard that many Iowa fans want to hang their hat on, but still, it can't be overlooked that Bradley Hill really, has done a decent job, and he's a viable option there. I know there's going to be some tougher heavyweights coming down the pike, obviously, starting this weekend with Davison from Michigan, but got gosh, you gotta like what Bradley Hill has done, and he got a big pin over an undersized guy from Illinois, but still, um, he's done well.
Right. And you talked about Glazier being kind of the underrated. I would put Hill even above Glazier in that respect.
Really,
Now he hasn't had quite the success, but he's had a lot of great success. I don't know what his record is now, probably like 16, maybe in 4 or something like that. Is it that
yeah,
handy? But now to tack onto that in the Northwestern meet, then they did put Keeter in. So it makes me think they want to get Keeter another match, against not a higher level heavyweight like his first match. But and then so we'll see. I'm still curious. I think they pulled a shirt off of Keeter. I get that feeling. So
you right now you have the feeling that Keeter will be the heavyweight when the postseason comes around.
yeah, and the thing that would prevent me from not thinking that is if it's not a great separation between Keeter and Hill in the room. So then if we don't think Keeter can do a whole lot better in placement than Hill, then maybe that's not worth it, at the national tournament. So, because Keeter is undersized in a lot of matches, but he's got the skill that probably more than most at heavyweight. And
I thought it was interesting that in his post match interview with Matt Nelson from the University of Iowa that they distribute out. that Peter kind of slipped in a comment about how he's gaining weight, which I thought was uh, interesting and odd all in one, just because you don't normally kind of think, oh, you're getting into getting further and further along in training and you're gaining weight, even though I'm sure that's a focus for him being from 220, wanting to get up 10, 20 pounds heavier. Um, you know, to wrestle heavyweight and be a linebacker. But I thought that was interesting too that he mentioned that.
Right.
By the way, Hill is 15-4 now.
15-4, not 16-4. That was a guess. I wasn't too far off.
Oh yeah, I think because he won at Purdue,
Oh, yeah,
won at
yeah,
Illinois. Yeah,
yeah. I was thinking he had 2 wins this weekend, but Keita wrestled, so that was my mistake there.
yeah, and
Okay.
yeah. So might as well mention that they blank Northwestern, win 46-0. Keeter finishes it off with a pin in 45 seconds. So you don't really get a good gauge on where his shape is after that Minnesota duel, but I'm sure it's I'm sure it's coming along nicely. I can't imagine otherwise for him and everything. But 2-0 with 2 pins. This weekend, I think, with Davison, how do you handle that? That's a great test. You got a high level heavyweight. Maybe that would be a really good gauge of sending him out there, seeing what he has, against a top five uh, guy. And then the picture might come into focus a little bit about whether, is it going to be in his best interest to wrestle in this postseason?
Right, and I'd almost say that true with either one. With Hills, it takes the mat, same situation. If he, if this is a good opportunity for Hill to show the coaches that, hey, I'm ready, and you can keep the shirt on, Keeter, yeah, that's going to be a point of interest for sure for a lot of fans.
Um, One of the things that stood out at Northwestern for me, Aiden Riggins finally getting a victory. Um, you know, Before the weekend, our preview was on Aiden Riggins and kind of what he's done for the team, even though it hasn't resulted in a lot of dual wins, especially on the Big Ten side. He lost in overtime at Illinois, and then finally got a win over a ranked wrestler from Northwestern. Um, but just the fact that here's a kid a year and a half ago started his college career and he wrestled at 157. And even over the course of last season, he wrestled some at 174, started this year at 174, bumped up because, Iowa's bodies at 184 were depleted because of the gambling investigation. Um, and you just try to make lemonade out of lemons, right? And he's stepping in. Um, what I thought was really cool was the fact that, he's not just happy helping the team, right? It's, you know, no moral victories here. I want to win. I think there's a sense of realism that, hey, there are going to be sometimes might get out horsed, and I think he's working to try to get bigger and stronger, so he can handle that better. But hey, I'm not just gonna be satisfied with going out there and only getting beat by 7 or 6 and not give up bonus points. I want to go out there and win. And it was good to finally see him kind of get over that hump, at least in Big Ten competition.
Right, and you brought up all the hurdles that he has. Obviously 84 is the big hole for Iowa, and they're confronted with, do they run with Aiden or do they pull the shirt off of Gabe Arnold? And but Gabe's wants to be at 74. Can he go to 84? he's potential to be a four-timer if they sit, red shirts, and all those questions that they're I'm sure dealing with. But I don't see them pulling the shirt off of Gabe Arnold personally. So that being said, Riggins needs to really get on this last few dual meet stretch, before the Big Tens. He needs to get some wins and some quality wins to be able to get himself at least a little bit higher seed than where he's sitting right now, so that he has an opportunity to be a qualifier. And once you're in the show, then you're there, and you can make that make your moves then as well. But you got to get there, and so make yourself an easier route right now, as well as giving yourself some confidence and some momentum going into the postseason. So yeah, good points, KJ.
Yeah, and just looking at what's awaiting Riggins right now. So they've got Michigan coming up. Michigan has Jaden Bollock, who's ranked number 16. He's coming off the win over number 24 Fisher. But Jaden Bollock from Michigan is ranked 16th. Then you've got Truax the week after. He's ranked 4th. And then you've got Wisconsin, who doesn't have a ranked wrestler in the top 20 according to Win. And then you've got Dustin Plott from Oklahoma State to finish out the regular season, who's ranked number 2. Yeah, so he's got a tough road ahead of him here, so he's definitely going to have to, if I was going to be able to push him through, he's going to have to hope they have a lot of allocations for the Big Ten at that weight. And he put together a pretty good conference tournament out at Maryland to be able to go on.
Well, I would see in those two, the remaining meets you mentioned, I would see Iowa putting Gabe Arnold out on the mat against Penn State and Oklahoma State, personally, against X and Plott. That's my guess. And then so he wouldn't probably have a chance to compete against those wrestlers. That's what I think will happen. But
that's a good point. That's a good point. Just a couple other things from Iowa's weekend. They went 18-2 overall. The 2 losses that they had were both sudden victory losses. Rachi at 149 against Illinois, and then Riggins at 184. So they're really close to sweeping their way through the weekend. Out of the 18 wins, 14 were bonus point wins, 8 technical falls, 3 pins, 3 majors. Total. They allowed just 3 takedowns over the two duels, and 2 of those came in sudden victory against Illinois. So only 1 takedown in regulation in those 20 matches. So
right.
They're offensive, and then they're stingy as well. Or maybe a good offense is the best defense, right? That's the old adage. So
always like that. But the one flag that kind of comes up for me is Franek in the Northwestern meet had to go to sudden victory to get the win, but he's been keeping it close. And obviously,
Chumley's not bad.
Oh, he's good. But then if you're number 2 in the nation, man, you should be putting that hammer down, not going into sudden victory. And we've said that all year. He keeps it close, and it just worries me that he's gonna get another one. So because we already did that once. So, but again, Chumley's good, but that was a good match for Northwestern. But it was a loss yet for them. So anyway,
here's one thing I want to throw by you really quick too, as far as the Big Ten this season. I think there is a huge gap between the top 6 teams and the rest of the conference. I I think there have been years where it's just been deep, and you've got those teams in the middle, 7 to 10, 7 to 11, 6 to 11, that are really, really close. Here, you've got a huge gap between Penn State and the rest. You've got Iowa that I think is a firm number two. Then you've got Nebraska, Michigan, Ohio State. Minnesota's done well. But after those six teams, I think there's a huge drop off. Illinois wasn't competitive. Northwestern, no. Wisconsin, we've seen them. Didn't Iowa State blank them earlier this season?
That was early. They're coming on though a little bit now, so they're starting to adjust
Okay.
out there. And then
But Indiana doesn't, Purdue has taken a huge step back from before. I really haven't followed Michigan State too much. Maryland's not there. Rutgers maybe is kind of the bridge between uh that top tier and the bottom tier. Maybe they're the bridge there between the two, but
that,
yeah, it just seems like there's not parity and there's just a big gap between the haves and the have-nots.
right. That used to be a big what's the term in bicycling? The peloton or whatever the big
Mhm.
mass that was behind. And you're right, there's not. It's kind of gappy. Is that a word?
Yeah, well, we'll make it a word. So Michigan coming up this Friday. Um, you know, I think if Iowa wrestles the way they have the last few weeks, they're going to be pretty good. But Michigan's got some really tough guys. Is this something? Could this be one of those trap duels where you know teams looking ahead to Penn State and kind of get bit with Michigan, who has guys like Amin and Griffith and Ragusin, uh, Davison, guys like that? Or is this one that you like Iowa to come away with?
Oh, I don't think Iowa needs to look ahead of anyone. They're I'm, they're the favorite on paper, but Michigan's good enough. You don't look past Michigan, and then I don't think they can do that with the rest of their schedule. I mean, you mentioned it. It's a strong schedule, so or the finish of it anyway. So and with Oklahoma State, they're looking good as well. They're really progressing quite well. We'll talk about them in a minute, but
Mm-hmm.
that's the final meet, right, for Iowa, and so
Yes.
you can't look
Yep.
past anyone.
Yeah, I forgot Luan's still there. So in the middle of that lineup, you're going to have some really, really good matchups, I think, where you have, I would assume, you know, Rachi would be favorite. Well, no, they've got Gomez back. So, that's going to be a tough one. Will Lujan is still in the Michigan lineup at 157. So that'll be a tough matchup for Fraenick. Then you've got Caliendo and Amin, um, 65. Then you've got Shane Griffith at uh, 74. And whether or not you see Kennedy, maybe you see Gabe Arnold um, there. You don't know. 184, I think that's a winnable match um, for Iowa. So, uh, and then we mentioned Davison at heavyweight uh, as well. Michael D. Augustino. Um, he hasn't really been the form that he's been in the past, but you can't overlook him, and that'll be a tough one for Ayala. And we mentioned Ragusin at 33. So yeah, it'll be a tough one. I think it's one Iowa should win, but like you said, you can't put the cart in front of the horse here. And they'll have to take care of business at Ann Arbor.
Right. And again, Iowa has a tendency to keep matches close so they can, at least they have this year, so they can, that can always, end up in a upset there or whatever. But I guess that works both ways too. So, um, but yeah, that's a tough lineup Michigan has, and I think you're right. Iowa's probably favored, but it's close enough that they're not favored by much.
Right. Well, let's head down to where the wind goes sweeping through the plains, right? Um, in Oklahoma. Um, Iowa State, you and I both go 1-1 there. Oklahoma State, I think, really kind of proved a little something with big wins there. They had fallen off a little bit in the last couple of years, but man, the Cowboys have really resurged, and they're looking good.
Right, and they won 4 of the 6 matches in that meet, and then had a couple of bonus point wins there. So yeah, that was. But the good thing on the Iowa State side was it was nice to see Casey Swiderski back. He hasn't been in the lineup since December 2nd, and he had a good weekend. He walked away with two wins against rated guys, the 32nd ranked guy and the 17th ranked guy, but good wins for him for having a big gap. I always thought he was, man, that guy, he's kind of a junkyard dog sort of a wrestler. He'll get out and, fight hard for that bone, so to speak.
Oklahoma State is now 10-0, so they're one of 3 unbeaten dual teams. Of course, the other 2 being number 1 Penn State and number 2 Iowa. Penn State 7-0, Iowa 10-0. Oklahoma State now 10-0 after wins over Iowa State and UNI. And Iowa State holding strong at number 4. Now 10-2 with their only losses coming to Iowa and Oklahoma State. It's worth noting that Iowa State was without Cody Chittum. Chittum didn't make the trip. I believe Kevin Dresser mentioned last week that a little bit of a situation with a concussion that occurred in practice, so he didn't travel. It wasn't worth the risk, and I think you see coaches really taking that kind of thing seriously when it happens. So
Well,
they didn't have him. Jason Kreiser stepped in. Not sure it would have made really a huge difference at Hokie State, but
right, and when that concussion happens, it's out of the coach's hands. Now it becomes the trainers and the so and that's good for the coaches because they don't need to be able to deal with that and obviously the athlete's health is the most important thing, and if the coach doesn't have to decide, that's good. At least coach here, so
for sure. Let's see if we kind of mashed up on this. The Oklahoma State duel. Oklahoma State won 21-12. Who is the most impressive in that duel, regardless of team?
Well, I mean, David Carr is doing David Carr things. If that's what you're,
yes.
I mean, it's hard to match that guy for sure.
Not the fact that he won, but the way that he won.
Right.
8-1 and was dominant. That's that tells me that he's in high gear heading to the last part of the season.
Right now, that's 8-1 against the number 4 ranked wrestler.
Yeah.
So that's why that's impressive. I mean, 8-1 score from David Carr, that's kind of unimpressive, but now it's the number 4 guy.
And we saw what Olenek did at the beginning of the season.
Right.
He tore through some really, really good wrestlers, including Hamady and won the Cliff Keen. So, that's that's a strong win against a top flight opponent.
Now, to follow up with that,
Mm-hmm.
Younger Bastida is just that guy just continues to impress me and you. I know both of us. So
Mm-hmm.
and that guy's he beat number 9 and number 11, and he beat number 9 7-2 and number 11 14-4 major. I mean, this is a guy that we didn't know if he could handle it 285 at the beginning of the season. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and I was amazed with comments by the broadcast team that said he's about 240. I mean, he looks thick and strong, but the fact that he's at 240 tells me, you know, he put on some good weight, some good muscle, and it hasn't affected his athleticism and his quickness. Here's what really impressed me about Younger Bastida, and I was watching that match with uh, my my daughter and wife, and it's 4-2. And usually heavyweights, you just stay in good position, finish things out. He scored that final takedown later, didn't need it. It was off his shot. He wasn't countering it. He went and looked to add one more score, which I thought the first thing I said to my daughter was he was proving a point right there. You know, that's that's proving the point, saying I can score on you anytime I want. You remember that the next time you're on the mat with me, that you know you're not going to have any confidence coming back because of what I just did.
Right. He's so explosive, and I mean his confidence is right now just it's getting huge. And he appears to me to be a kid that when he's got confidence, look out. And he loves being
Yeah.
on his feet. I mean, so where are you going to beat him at? On the mat? Yeah, you have to get him down there first.
Yeah. Yeah. And even his mat wrestling has improved. Doucette uh rode him for a little bit, but then Bastida was able to get up off a restart and get an escape. So, he's improved on his mat wrestling too. And that's where you normally would have an advantage on him, and that's starting to shrink for opponents.
Right. I don't know. Do you play the heavyweight game and just push and shove and wait till you get someone tired? And do you try and get him tired? I don't know what the strategy to beat him is.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure because he's looked really good, and I that that weekend was a big weekend because you saw his power too with Heinzelman. Did you see that takedown where he pretty much launched uh Heinzelman from Oklahoma and just stuck him right in the mat, um, bringing him down.
Right. And that's that explosiveness that I'm talking about, man. He's just, and strength and power. And yeah.
Um, just kind of looking at some of the matches, or there are a few of them could have gone the other direction. Maybe 125, 141. So that's you know that that's a duel that Iowa State could turn around, possibly. Um, so I highly doubt that's one that they're going to dwell on or rue about. Um, you know, I think they realize, Oklahoma State won it. Yeah, there's a lot of things that we could have changed, or we could have been full strength. I don't think they're going to lose too much sleep over that one. At least I wouldn't if I was Iowa State, who hosts West Virginia this weekend.
Right. And so they're kind of looking at the Big 12s, trying to even that out at the Big 12s. And, here's another thing I'm looking at nationals. Whenever we see an Oklahoma State box score, we always have to look, at least for the last 6 years, I think, at 33 at Dayton Fix. Yeah. But, here's Fix, who's been around forever.
Just 6 years?
I think it's been 6, hasn't it?
8, 10, maybe.
Maybe it has been more. It seems like.
No. I think he wrestled Joey Slayton in the NCAA finals one year. I'm being facetious and silly now, but
so anyway, with if you look at those top three at 33, I'm like Fix is ranked third, and then Aruja, right, is ranked second, and then who's a freshman? Starts with a C, not
Crickham.
Crookham. Yeah, Crookham that beat Aruja, and I'm like, I didn't think Aruja was beatable, and then he beat him early in the season. So I mean, I don't know. Is Fix can Fix win the national tournament? He's got to look at that semifinal match. If it gets seeded like that and they make it through, it'll be Aruja versus Fix in the semifinals. Holy cow! So
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
kind of fun to speculate.
And then you look, the top five includes Ragusin from Michigan and Nagao, um, after his move to Penn State. That's you know, that's a tough field.
Exactly. That's crazy. I love it.
Yep. And here's one to keep your eye on too, Nasir Bailey from Arkansas Little Rock. Uh he's been really impressive. He's ranked number 7 in the win rankings, but he's going to be somebody to keep your eye on. Of course, you know, once we get closer to the NCAAs and stuff, we'll hash all that stuff out. But
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
just kind of fun to think about seeing Fix this weekend. But
sure, for sure. Um, yeah, and then we mentioned Iowa State pretty much both both Iowa State and UNI handled Oklahoma. Um, Iowa State beat the Sooners 37-4. The only loss coming at 197 was Stephen Buchanan, the former uh, All American from Wyoming, in the lineup for the Sooners, ranked number 2 behind Aaron Brooks at 97. So he got a major, but everybody else uh, came away with wins there. So Uh, nothing real surprising, I don't think, in that Oklahoma duel.
right, in Iowa State duel, Crazer at 57 beat the number 31 ranked Hill from
Okay.
OU, and then also Gayton at 74 beat Piccolo, the 29th ranked. So beat a couple of low ranked wrestlers. Both of those Iowa State wrestlers are unranked. So, oh no, Gayton's 23rd. What am I thinking? But anyway, it's nice wins whenever you beat a ranked guy.
For sure.
Sometimes when you're wrestling a team like Oklahoma that's not real strong, you get on that momentum. You know that ball. I always thought of it as a big ball of snow rolling down the hill, and
Oh, sure.
so you kind of keep the momentum in your side of the mat. So, and it's hard when you're coming out and you look up at the scoreboard and you're losing. Your team's losing, 26-4 or something by the time you get out.
Right. Yep. And it just raises the energy and stuff of your teammates when you go out there and you get a big win. Um, like you said, that snowball starts rolling and you gain a lot of confidence and energy and excitement. Um, when you do string together those wins.
Right, and you don't want to be the guy that doesn't win. You look
Yeah,
up at the score and you're the 4, and that sucks. I just tell you right now.
I can understand that. Well, let's look at UNI too. They opened with Oklahoma State and then finished off with Oklahoma. Oklahoma State with a 22-12 win um, over the Panthers. Panthers did get 4 victories. Uh, the one that couple of them stand out. One, Parker Keckeisen faced number 2 Dustin Plott from Oklahoma State. This is the second time that Keckeisen has wrestled a 1 versus 2 match, right? Going
Right.
back to the All Star Classic with Truex
Mhm.
at that time. And of course, he's still unbeaten. And I think the win over Plott uh, really showed he's head and shoulders above the rest, beating Plott 12-6.
Right. And then Ply came out and got the first takedown, and then it was all Hawkeyes, and especially in the third period. But you know that's coming. The guy's he's an Energizer bunny. He doesn't run out of steam ever. And so you're right. It is. They don't count that All-Star meet evidently, but it doesn't matter. It's 1 versus 2. Call it what you want. And so that's 2 nice wins there. It's the thing that's kind of fun for me to say, and I know you as well, KJ, is that you and I had 4 guys go 2-0 on the weekend, Kekheisen as you would expect, but then Happel, Downey, and Volker, all Iowa high school athletes.
Right.
I just love that. You know that Happel is just on a roll. He is doing it. He's currently ranked 6th in most polls, and he beat the number 9 ranked Jameson from Oklahoma in a 4-2 match. So good win there for him.
For sure. You know, one of the things that stands out to me about Cale Happel was talking to him in the preseason at media day. He mentioned something about, you know, when you get to college, you think you have to change all this stuff up because it's a different level and different things, but it almost was like he reset at the beginning of this year and went back to all those things that made him good and realized you don't have to change everything, right? You know, you do have to make tweaks and you have to adjust and adapt to the different level, but stick to the things that made you good in the first place. I think he's done that, you know, that the KISS method, keep it simple, stupid, you know.
Yeah.
I think we're seeing like one of the best versions of Cale Happel, and I think it's rooted in, you know, what he's always done. You
Right.
know, he aggressive and strong, and you know, really letting things. You know, even if you're not scoring points, you're still creating a lot of action, and eventually it will lead to points.
Right. And you're right. It's neat to hear you say that, hear him say that. And you know, I always mention that as well, that it's not the big moves that generally win you matches, it's the little things you do, you know, the tweaking things. Now you're right. You can't hold on to ankles and when you know, or grab ankles necessarily in college. You have to, when you're on top riding, you know, you have to do that upper body. Otherwise, you're going to get the stall count and give warnings and points. So I mean, there's some little tweaking that you have to do. But you know, I love that I kind of compare his journey with his older brothers. That was kind of a spot wrestler. Got to wrestle here and there on varsity, and not every day, you know, every day, every meet. And so I'm really liking that he's doing so well, taking the opportunity, you know, doing so well for he and his family. And it's just, you know, man, I couldn't cheer more for the guy. That's good. I hope he does well.
And what about Ryder Downey? Good. If we would have talked about this at the beginning of November, middle of November, and talk about what Ryder Downey has done or is going to do, would you have believed it?
You know what?
Would you have expected this kind of season from Ryder Downey? I guess is what I'm.
Okay, no, but would I believe it? Yes, because after we saw what happened in the state finals, and we know it, the guy's gritty, tough, and
Yep.
And so you know that would, you know, that's what wouldn't surprise me, because you know we know he's got that you know, we used to say sand packed up the old. He got grit.
Yep. Yep. Um, you know, and then you kind of mentioned Wyatt Volker. He got a win over Jersey Rob, who had a big major decision over I believe Broderson in the Iowa State duel. So Volker had a nice weekend, getting a pin against Oklahoma, and then a win over Rob at Oklahoma State to go 2-0 with Kekheisen and Happel and Downey.
Right. Great 2 wins for him. And again, there's a guy that's on a roll. He did a lot of off-season wrestling, and you know, I think it's paid off. You know, and not that the others didn't, but you know, his was, we were aware of his, and So I'm glad to see his growth and continued rise to that top.
And UNI beat Oklahoma 30-12. Um, that was a good showing there. To close out the weekend on Sunday. Julian Farber, who's kind of climbed up the rankings. And that was somebody Schwab said to keep an eye on. I think some people were looking for Corey Land, who's hurt. But he mentioned don't overlook Julian Farber, who's going to be their 33 pounder, and Schwab was right on. A heck of a competitor. He won by major decision against Oklahoma. Jared Sema at 174 had a fall as well to go along with those other four guys that went 2-0 on the weekend. So
Yep.
Good showing for UNI, who also has West Virginia coming up this weekend on Sunday at the McLeod Center. So West Virginia will be in Ames at Hilton on Friday, Cedar Falls at the McLeod Center on Sunday.
Right. And Farber impressed me. I was watching him at the Cliff Keen earlier this year, and after watching him, I'm going, I like this guy. He's a competitor and tough nosed as well. But I'm going to talk about a guy with 2 losses on the weekend because they were significant losses, and that's Terrell Gordon up at heavy.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he wrestled Duchette from Oklahoma State, that's ranked 9th or 7th or somewhere in there, and lost in tiebreaker there, 4-3, tiebreaker 1. And then to Heinzelman, who's ranked 11th or somewhere in that vicinity, and he lost in sudden victory 1 there, 4-1. So he got taken down there. So he had 2 losses to quality wrestlers, but he's so close, and man, I hope the best for him too. He's a good kid.
Yep. And you hope that that's those are learning things, right? Things that are so close, and when you get to the big 12 tournament, or even in Kansas City at the national tournament, that he can turn those around.
You'd like to think so, especially at heavyweight. Those, about anything can happen.
Right.
It
Right.
does. But anyway.
Yep. Well, before we get to the Battle of the Burgs, I just want to mention Iowa women's wrestling really quick. They've added some competitions along the way. They went out to Indiana, had a couple of duels there. They wrestled Campbellsville and won 42-2. Then they blanked Indiana Tech 42-0. And then kind of interesting that on Friday they wrestled duels. They stayed there on Saturday, and there was an open tournament that Indiana Tech hosted. Iowa came away with a quartet of champions there, including Lily Luft. She won her first college tournament. Of course, she had a familiar foe, Zayna McBride from Life. McBride beat her at the Soldier Salute. Luft avenged that loss at the Iowa duels, and then won the rubber match for the title at Indiana Tech tournament. Reese Laramendi, she won at 143. Of course, she wrestled Ella Schmidt, the former Bettendorf wrestler, and in the finals, and came away with a 13-6 win there. Kylie Welker also won, beat teammate Haley Ward in the finals there, and then JC Fuller had a victory or championship at 191 for Iowa. Iowa had 21 tech falls over the course of the tournament, which I think is pretty amazing, and they went 59-13 overall. So that was pretty impressive on Saturday. So They have a meet at the University of Sioux Falls tomorrow, on Wednesday, January 31st. And then I believe they're also adding, I'll have to double check, but I thought they're adding a tournament this weekend as well. And they're getting closer and closer to the postseason, which is less than a month away.
Right. I mean, right now they're in the driver's seat for a national title, it would seem. Obviously, things are a little different than duels, but you know, they've got they're going to have their lineup. They're going to have a number of top ranked wrestlers, and you know, so we'll wait and see on that one. You know, but I think they're definitely in the driver's seat to win that championship.
Oh, sure. And having it right in their own backyard, I think, is gonna just to add to that comfort level. And um you know, when they prepare as well. So
Right. And you'll remember most of them were at that tournament last year, sitting up in the stands. They weren't able to compete.
Yeah, remember that?
They were up there watching. You know, they were thinking about that and dreaming about it, and so that's motivation right there. And so you're exactly right.
For sure. For sure. Now, the biggest duel on the D3 landscape every year is the Battle of the Burgs. You've experienced quite a few of those. This one didn't disappoint. It was a close duel at the NWCA multi-divisional duels. Wartburg won by 2. This one even closer. You know, it went down to the very bitter end, didn't it?
Yes, it did. It was so exciting. It was the most exciting meet I've seen in a long time. It was and you're right. Wartburg won the duel at the national duels to become the national champions. And then this is not the first time this has happened, because that happened in the reverse. Wartburg got upset back when Kyle was wrestling, and then won the Battle of the Burgs. And then so this is not the first time that's happened. That reversal. So that first meet doesn't mean diddly. So let me kind of take you through it. The differences were that at 157, that match was reversed. So Blake Jokaczynski from Augsburg was able to defeat Daniel Meeker from Wartburg, and that was one of the differences there. And then that's at 157, and then 165. I got to mention this. I'm going, I don't know how Nathan Fuller got pinned in the last duel. And I go, well, that's not going to happen again. Well, this Cooper Willis, who's ranked number 3, was winning the match, but gets on top and throws a cradle on it and turns him over and pins him. And I'm like, how does that happen? This kid's got a cradle that is just about unstoppable, evidently.
Really?
And then it went down to the 84-pound match. So now it's 16-13 going into the 84-pound match. So basically, whatever happens at 84, 97 has to match it. That's the Wartburg's national champion. So the Augsburg 84-pounder won the match, and then by major, and then the 97-pounder from Wartburg, he was wrestling the number 4 ranked kid, so it was a tough kid, was only able to get the decision, and that made it 19-17. So now it comes down to a regular decision, and Augsburg will win the meet, and because of that major that happened at 84. And so and then Wartburg pulls out this guy's a monster. Mitchell Williamson, that evidently is from Wisconsin. He was I think you said he was a junior college national champion in 2018.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right around
2020.
2020. Yep.
Yeah, right in there. But he was a high school draft in 2018, so he's an older kid and older man, younger man.
Yeah,
anyway,
right.
Yeah, but he's only considered a sophomore, evidently. I don't know how that works.
Oh wow!
But anyway, so this match and he got in on, and the Augsburg kid is ranked 4th and a good wrestler, athletic, but he's undersized now just a bit. And Williamson was able to get in on the leg early in the match. First period, and Kim fought it off, and then kind of pushing and shoving the rest, and then goes into tiebreaker, and Kim gets away. He takes down, gets away, and gets the point. So now it's 2-1, and then Williamson, instead of taking down, takes neutral to try and get the win with the takedown, and then he gets in on a leg and gets it up, and they do a scramble. I mean, it's an incredible scramble for heavyweights,
Right.
for heavyweight, but especially for heavyweights. And just doing that, rolling through, grabbing legs, coming up on the feet, diving, and I'm going, holy cow! The timer's going down, and finally the buzzer rings, and the referee waves no, and Augsburg, and I gotta kind of set the setting in the gym. It's a packed house. And then right along Matt's side, they have portable bleachers set up and it's full of alumni wrestlers.
Oh, really?
And they had introduced them at the break, and I mean it was rabid right on Matt's side, and then the darkened gym and the lights showing, and they had smoke blowing when the Augsburg
show.
Came. It was really a great show, and Augsburg came away with the win there. And this is the first time they introduced the Sven Milboy belt.
Oh,
like a belt. They did introduce that in 2015. And since they've introduced that, this will be the first time that it's going to reside in Minneapolis. It's always been won by Wartburg. And now I think during COVID, they did not wrestle one year. When they had just the American Rivers Conference schedule. I don't think we wrestled that year. So,
okay.
And so there's 1 year off there.
That makes sense.
But anyway, so kind of neat. And that's kind of neat, that belt. That's something the guys, really covet and want to wrestle hard for.
Cool. Yeah, we like our trophy duels.
Right. Yeah.
Very,
very fun. The next duel with Wartburg is the Wartburg co-duel. And I think that's in Waverly this year.
And that's this Friday, I believe, right?
Right. Yep.
So, yeah, two of the top teams in the American Rivers Conference going at it there. So should be a good one at Waverly.
Right.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that the excitement in the gym, seeing the video of how things finished off, it was pretty. That was a pretty cool duel.
Right. It was fun sitting here in my own house because I've been there. I know the feeling, and it was fun. It was a fun meet to watch. And you saw that scramble with the heavyweights?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw the video there.
Oh, sweet.
Crazy. Heavyweights, even at that level, are so much more athletic than years past.
Right.
It's crazy.
Right. And then other D3 news, Cornell was at the Pete Wilson Invitational, and they finished 4th out of 32 teams. Not bad.
Really?
And there was 8 top 25 teams there in attendance at that tournament. So
wow.
They finished only 1 point behind Whitewater for 3rd place. So right in there, they did have a champion. Cale McLaren went 5-0 and claimed the 84-pound title. And then Landon Card at 49 was 3rd. Gabe Smith at 57 was 3rd. Trayton Steffen was 4th at 97. And Jackson Brinker was 5th at 285. So good showing by Cornell at the Pete Wilson.
Brent Ham has done a good job there. We were talking about the Happels earlier. I think a great addition to his staff was bringing in Carter Happel. I think he adds something to the staff. And probably, a big part of helping Brent kind of really make strides.
Right.
Matt McDonough's also an assistant coach there. Justin Kreider, people recognize that name from DeWitt. So, Jacob Scherzer, somebody that as an assistant coach as well. So former Jefferson prep and stand out for Cornell. Was a 74 pounder for him, I
Yeah.
believe.
Mhm.
Um, so he's on staff too. So they've got a really good staff. Um, and they've done some good things here this season.
Right. And back to Happel, I mean, that to me is a perfect fit. I mean, there's a guy that, is from the area, is from Lisbon. I mean, Mount Vernon and Lisbon are one and the same
Yep.
if you ask me, not if you ask them.
You could throw a rock from Lisbon and it'll land in Mount Vernon.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, you would think they're 50 miles apart with the rivalry that they used to have,
Right.
still have.
Right. And so that's perfect fit. And I think that having Happel on staff helps him with recruiting. I mean, that's got to be a little bit of a draw as well. Having that quality of a wrestler and coach. And so, yeah, that's a good fit for sure. Their next competition is I don't know if they'll send their varsity there or not, but the Dubuque Invitational. I think they do because they have mostly tournaments listed at the end of their schedule here. So, anyway, Loris was off. They'll wrestle UD, University of Dubuque, Friday. So that's a big competition again there. Decide who owns Dubuque this year, I guess, right?
Right. And we mentioned how Dubuque has made some gains, and of course, talk about staffs. They've got a great one too. So that should be a fun duel with Loris and UD.
Right, and UD, who's ranked 18th right now, defeated Luther, who's ranked 22nd. They beat them 22-12, and they won
Wow.
7 of 10 matches. And so you had Alonzo Smiley defeated number 12 Bryce McDonough 4-3. So that's a big win for them there. And then at 285, Justin Matson decision Walter West 4-3 in tiebreaker. So a couple of nice wins there. UD's got it rolling. You're right.
Let's finish up with Upper Iowa's weekend. They had a couple duels at home on Friday and Sunday. They went 2-0. They've won 3 in a row now, and improved to 6-4 overall. They beat Maryville 31-7 on Friday. Beat Drury University. That's hard to say with a cough drop in your mouth, by the way. Drury University 44-7 on Sunday. But I'm really excited to see Upper Iowa when the postseason comes around, because I think they have one of their most balanced and best teams uh, that they've had. To be honest with you, they've got returning national champion Chase Lensman, who had a major decision against Maryville. Trayton Ackman at 125, won by fall. And then you had, uh, Coulter By, who has national tournament experience. He had a nice win at 184 as well. Tate Murdy, leader for this team. He beat Cody Ketchum of Maryville 6-3. So some good wins there for Upper Iowa, and then did pretty much the same against Drury. Lensman with a tech fall in that match. So did Coulter By. Cameron Lopez at 197. Jordan Baumler wrestled against Drury and got a fall as well. So Tate Murdy and Jackson Rolfs both had wins. Murdy by pin as well. So they racked up a lot of bonus points and a lot of wins in those 2 duels for their 3rd straight victory.
Right, and to echo what you said, I think they will have a strong performance in the postseason tournaments. Right now, they're 6-4 overall in duels, but they're 3-0 in the conference. So, their next match is against their next meet is against Minnesota State Mankato, and
Yep.
that's on Sunday. So I think they're going to get a win there as well. So they're. I mean, I think they have four, just off the top of my head, four place winners, potential place winners, and obviously defending champ. And I think he's seated ranked second right now. And so when that happens, that's motivation. It's sometimes when you're at the top, you're kind of looking back or whatever, figuratively, and you're not as motivated. But when you're number two, trying to get back to number one, that's motivation. So I like that. I don't mind him being there.
Gotcha. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. The one that kind of stands out to me, with them being in the Great Lakes Valley Conference, now they end the regular season with a duel against the University of Indianapolis. I think that could be a doozy of a duel, and it'll be a great gauge to see where they're at with the postseason immediately after that. So, looking forward to that. Just to see how they do. They've got a makeup duel with McKendree after the Minnesota State duel, and then that February 18th double duel with Quincy and University of Indianapolis. So I think that'll be a fun duel to finish off the regular season.
Yeah, for sure. Have to keep our eyes on that one.
All right. Any other final words or items before we put a bow on this college edition for this week?
Nope, just got some cool things going in college, that's for sure.
Yep. So when we see you again, we'll be turning the page to February, getting ready for big duel with Iowa and Penn State next week. So Iowa has Michigan on Friday. Iowa State, UNI face West Virginia over the weekend. The Iowa women had to Sioux Falls midweek this week as well. And then, of course, we mentioned Wartburg Co. this Friday at Waverly. So a lot going on the college scene. Make sure you take a look and watch and support these programs and enjoy the sport of college wrestling. For Dick Briggs, I'm KJ Pilcher. Thanks for watching Pinning Combination Podcast again. And I'll let Coach Briggs take us out.
Let's keep wrestling on the move.